Here we have another HP Pavilion. It is an xt919, another Celeron. This one is an 800 megahertz. And in my last video I said about this one is designed for Microsoft Windows 2000 Professional and ME. This one has, I think I had it in 2 videos ago or 3, whatever. Full size power supplies don't work, just can't fit in this machine. So I found this one in my pile of stuff. So we will see if that one works. I also pull this too. Found another one. So one of these, you see how much shorter that is, because definitely just doesn't fit. So HP had a habit of using non-standard power supplies. This one probably will be have a nice upgrade with one of those faster graphics cards instead of using the onboard. I think it's the same thing, the 810. Oops, sorry for that. I don't even know what you're saying. $810. Yes. So I think I'll pop one of those PCI video cards in here because this doesn't have an AGP slot, and I will let this have a good upgrade. One thing that I need to find, either that or get a true an exhaust fan here. This would have had a shroud over it. But I am getting ahead of myself. First I have to see if everything powers up. I stuck in a 64 megabyte RAM stick in here because I pulled the two 256 133s out. Doesn't make sense to keep those in here, especially apparently this is what the first 800 megahertz Celeron is the first one to use a 100 front side bus. So actually with the other one I just worked on, the 633, I probably could have just used up some of my 66 if I have any in here. No matter. So it's all plugged in, and so without further ado, all right. That's not a good sign. Let's try that guy. Where in the world did I get this power supply? It's new. Ish. Newer than this one, and definitely newer than this machine. It has SATA. And it also has the added 4 pin for a 24 pin ATX. So it has this additional Dell for, what would this have been for? Well, if this works in here, it's going to stay in here, because I don't, every other power Dell I have back there, they are the Pentium 4 bog standard, so now it doesn't have a battery. Let's see what happens. All right, let's try it again. Oh, Okay. Anything on the screen? Nothing on the screen. It is plugged in. No smoke. Let me pop in a battery, see what happens. New battery in. Try it again. Fan would definitely need to get replaced. If this actually works. Success! I think. Yep, it didn't lock up. So, it might be doing a memory test right now. I don't know. But I reseated the CPU. And then I was getting a beep, 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 beep. Not much in this machine right now to take apart and put back together, so I'm just playing around with different, I don't know, some random memory. I don't know if any of the condition of all this memory, you know, some of it might be bad. So, I don't know what we are doing here, though. Control-Alt-Delete did work. Okay. Good. 800 megahertz Celeron. Okay. So F1 for setup. There we go. Now this is a built on a CUW-AM motherboard. I was thinking of putting in one of my Pentium 3s. I have an 866 and 933 on another spare 1 gigahertz. But the front side bus on this motherboard only goes up to 100. So getting a CPU that requires 133 front side bus, yeah, we won't be able to use. At this point, that's not sounding half bad right now. It just... Okay, I do some computer work for somewhere, which gets a lot of dust around. So this, you can still see part of it is like caked on. I did my best to blow it out before starting this. But actually, you've seen this here too. This has just been lying around, stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely needs to be cleaned. But we do have power up. That power supply works. I'm going to see if I do have a socket 370 that might work on here. Even if it's a 133 front side bus, I might be able to bump it up somewhat, depending on what the multiplier is. I mean, the spec of this machine. And with a 300 watt power supply, I do believe I can use one of these other boards so I don't use the on-board. And probably better audio than what's on this machine as well. And so, you know what? This is going to be as a polar opposite, not a polar opposite, the much different than the other HP that was just worked on. Whereas everything was basically stock, we are going to go as far as we can with the system to see how we do. So I also need to find, see if we could do 512 megs of RAM. And so I'll be back in the next shot. Well, a CPU upgrade would be a bust, given its limitation on the front side bus. And apparently, looking, I believe it only takes up to 850 megahertz processors anyway. So this is at its basic top of what it can handle. Before I go any further, and I want to see what's on this hard drive, see what if it boots to anything. I need, when I reseated the CPU, noticed yeah, it needed to get a fresh supply of paste. Probably should do that with the 633, the other one, but and actually it's not paste. This is what it was on. It's this metal. Yeah, that's what was on the heatsink. But right now, fresh supply is on there. We should be good. Blew out the heatsink more, so a lot of stuff came out again. So hopefully the bearings just quiet down, and we'll have the hard drive connected, and let's power this up and see what happens. So much for quieter bearings. All right, back to square one. It's pretty finicky. And of course, I think it's looking for a floppy drive which is not connected or something. Oh, hard drive made a sound. Well, if this causes me too much more grief, it might just go into the scrap pile. It's funny though, I mean, like it's not locking up, to say locking up, it's some buzzing. Oh, hard drive even spinning. I don't feel it. That's... Oh, no, I guess that's... No, it was spinning. Let's disconnect it. Not that. Yeah, I'll get back to you if something interesting happens. Well, I was able to get into the BIOS again, and okay. So on a reboot, it tries to boot. Let's plug in the hard drive. This is an oddball. And I told it to ignore having no floppy. That ain't it. But if I do this, stands to reason that okay. Maybe there's nothing on the hard drive. I was going to continue this video saying that I had a corrupted BIOS because all signs were pointing to that. I don't know who used this machine before. It's just automatically logging in. So I'll just keep it away from the screen right now. Because it would just freeze up at the boot, the HP splash screen. Wouldn't do anything. I would press Control Alt Delete, it would reboot, and it had a bad, every single time afterwards it would say that there's a bad BIOS checksum. It's actually booting off of the hard drive. That is super fast. So I just let it sit there longer, and so I was just super impatient. Oh, alright. It's my default Windows XP base system. And eventually continued on. Now, I was going to say that wouldn't have been a bad thing. Because, I mean, this is the whole point of me doing what I'm doing now. Is to weed out all of the junk that doesn't work and keep the stuff that does work. Well, if it was a bad BIOS, doing searches for like a BIOS update, because when I did the reboot, it would want to try to boot from the floppy and then say no OS found. So if I actually had an a floppy, DOS floppy with the firmware, the BIOS update software on it, I could have tried flashing it with that and see what would happen. But I don't know. Is it gonna continue to have problems for me? If it is, I might just stick another micro ATX in here, maybe a higher end Pentium 4 if I have that. Because at this point, having that 300 watt power supply from some sort of Dell, that would be, and I probably do need to replace that fan. That would be enough power to run everything. Let's see what this other thing was. I need to. It's gonna try it on one other machine, but this is also a 300 watt. This one, as we saw before, didn't power on. Try another board, but I might have another bad power supply, which is good because I can just chuck it. So with this is my ooh, man. This is a really slow. Has 128 megs of RAM. And I think it's Service Pack 3. Oh yeah, still cranking away right now. Ooh, okay. Let's see. It's totally froze up right there. Yeah, XP3, 800 megahertz Celeron, 128 megs of RAM. I don't think that's a good combination, do you? I just want to reboot, see if the same problem happens on a reboot from the OS. Power it completely off and see. Yeah. Wouldn't the right button work on here? Oh, my computer. Oh, Security Essentials is out of date. Oh, there we go. There we go. Boom. Let's try to add some appropriate RAM for the system. I don't think there is such a thing as 256 megs of PC100. At that time, I think it's all PC133, so I was thinking of not wasting 133s on there because I don't have too many. These are my confirmed 256 meg sticks. If I put 2 in there, I still have 2 free. Odd. I don't remember seeing this at all. This is a PC133, 256 megs of RAM, but it's a DDR2 type of memory module. I mean, that is bizarre. That's bizarre. I don't know why I've never seen that before in my collection. Because most, SD RAM is like that. PC100, PC133, you're going to have that kind of memory in there. Even DDR, this is just PC27, DDR1 has that kind. Until you get to, and I found these sticks in the bag with just the SD stuff. So until you get to, this is DDR2, so you have that kind of memory. It's kind of bizarre, but I found those in the bag with everything else. But that is an oddball. I don't know what the size of these are 128s, I believe. I think these are all my 64 megs. Yeah, I have a lot of them because I was replacing everybody's 64 meg sticks with higher capacities, at the time. So yeah, I accumulated a bit myself. I don't know what those are. Yeah, I believe those are 32s. So might as well try them with the system. I mean, what could go wrong, right? Famous last words. Of course, I always have famous last words on this. Yeah, just because the machine was acting up doesn't mean if I just throw in a lot more variables that it's going to get worse, right? Yeah, we'll see. So one of those unknowns was actually a 256 meg stick, and another one was a 128. So I actually had 2, 3, 4, 5 sticks of 256. This one, or 256. This one might be pretty sure it's ECC with the 9 pins or 9 chips. So it didn't even recognize that. These unknowns, I don't know, probably at most 128, because if memory serves correct, I don't think I've ever seen a PC 133 stick of 256 that wasn't on chips on both sides, because at that point I don't think the density could support it. I mean, we even have, this is double-sided here, and this is only 128. So if you see a stick with one side, that's probably a good indication, probably a good indication that it's not 256. I haven't gotten BIOS errors. It stays a little while on the splash screen, which I am going to do that. And just for the heck of it, see how much better Windows XP runs with 256 more megs of RAM. The fan is a lot quieter. I think I completely lost the shroud, but planning on putting in a case fan for some help there. I'll be putting in one of these PCI graphics cards, I believe, and Windows 2000 maybe again. We'll see. But see, it's gets held up over here. I probably will replace the hard drive. But it was doing it without a hard drive connected too. So I don't know. When I get more information. And this is what we have right now. Ooh, it's dark. Popped in the 9250 PCI graphics card. Overkill for this machine? Probably. Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, all this I put in right now, I don't even know if it will work. We'll see. Wrong size fan. But it is mounted with a few screws. It's not going anywhere. If that fan works, hopefully. There's only another fan header is back there. All the way back there. And it's labeled power supply. And the CPU is labeled chassis. Well, chassis for the shroud, and I guess the original power supply had a fan control, or would have. I decided to keep the same hard drive, the Max Door, who knows, and see how long that lasts. And I found this in my, if this is it's appropriate, it's a DVD burner from 2000, actually. Nice, same color. I mean, this was just, if it works, I mean, that is a a perfect addition to this machine. Let's power it on. Ooh. Ooh, nope, that fan does not spin. All right, that was a quick boot. So I should have actually seen if that worked before I plugged everything in. Wah, wah. And the CPU fan is still loud. Or, yeah. What are we doing now? Oh, we're still booting. Still booting. Gonna see what another fan would do. Probably confused. This fan is working right. Oh, that's something else. Yeah. I don't think that's spinning either, unless it's thermally controlled. Maybe I'll put in that other one in there. Still nothing on the screen. But it is booting. It's doing something. Definitely doing something. Okay, no signal. That's a change. But yeah, the two things that I put with fans. Yeah, don't spin. I'll see what I can do. We have a smaller fan in there right now. Let's see what happens. Oh, come on. That's kind of disappointing that this drive wasn't reliable. Did read the disk. Started to boot, but then it made the computer reboot. I wonder how much this would have went for back in the day. 2002. Oh well. So right now it has this Memric 16X. Very, very, very short drive. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But this works. Color scheme. Not a huge fan of I don't know. But we are, one last thing, I guess. And you'll see this just buttoned up then at the end. Fan does work. I guess it's not hot enough to make it spin, because it's plugged into, like I said, the header down there. When it's plugged into the CPU header, it definitely does spin. So I guess it's not, like I said, hot enough. But yeah, I'll show this thing at the end. So it's just about done. Found the shroud, so did take off that fan. It never spun. It's kind of odd. I guess I could just put a fan in that always spins, directly connected, not to a Molex, not a header on the motherboard. Not a huge deal though. you'll see that there's no added video card in there. Windows installed fine and everything, but there's no gets to the Windows Start splash screen and would never continue. And that happened with the 9520 and the GTX 6800, which actually is pretty overkill for this anyway. So now we're going to install our unofficial service pack 5.1. Who cares about archiving, because it's just installed. If anything goes awry, just reinstall. And yeah, that's basically it. I won't show it all closed up because it's not important. But we see here, it's like almost exactly the same as the other HP. We have the 810 graphics. We have, well, I'm getting low on, I don't know, I was gonna say like quote unquote good network cards, but I mean this is fine. This is fine. It's just that it doesn't, you know, Windows 2000 didn't have built-in drivers for it. I'm just so used to 3Com stuff and just having it work. So I actually needed to go and find the drivers for it online. Had the same 82 801 8A sound, USB. So these two systems are the 6735 and the xt919 have very similar components on the motherboard. It's just this one's 166 megahertz faster. It has a 100 megahertz system bus compared to 66. This one, as it stands now, it has 128 more megs of RAM than the other one. Also has a hard drive is 65 gigs larger. The other one only has like a 32x CD-ROM drive. This has a 16x DVD. And yeah, that's about it. But all in all, then very similar machines. Should try to get a better PCI card in there for graphics, but you know, it's all in all, it's not a huge deal just to have. Okay, and this is one of my purposes for doing all this: get all the junk out, get the stuff that still works, you know, get it working, and have a complete functional system that I can pull out and then know that it works, or at least it worked when I put it away, because you never know what can happen with components sometimes. But I guess that's the end with this system. I have another one that I will show you. It's talked about a couple videos ago, 3 videos ago. I don't know, I'm getting confused. I'm confusing myself. But it's the Athlon 1200. I think I'm just gonna show you the insides, put a network card in there, and then be done with it, because I didn't change that a lot. Anyway, that's for the next video. I'll leave you with installing Service Pack 5.1, and take care.